Greetings and God bless. I'd like to invite you to look up Greyhound and just do a sample booking of a trip from, let's say, South Dakota to Wisconsin, or South Dakota to Colorado, or Iowa to Chicago. And you will find that for some reason, what should be like in a car, an hour and a half trip, or, if you were making stops between even inside Iowa, to go from Cedar Rapids to Des Moines, it's like a 4 hour trip on a certain bus. But if you're going to, excuse me, if you're going to take a bus outside of a Midwestern state, it's basically like a 72-hour or 48-hour trip for what should be maybe 4 hours, 8 hours, or something like that. And, I'm not going to show you because you can just look it up. And it makes it really stressful because I grew up taking Greyhound. I grew up in New York City, so I just was taking public transportation and it worked. When I lived in California, transportation is just you take it from one major city to another, and it was they were just direct lines. And of course, and that was even taking the bus. It was just going straight there. But for some reason, if you're in the Midwest, they take you 3 states over and a couple states up before they even start taking you to the direction you're trying to go to. And so you're on the bus for 2 extra days more than you have to be. And, the bus stops aren't great. You're on a bus where the toilets haven't been changed, where they haven't cleaned it out. And like, I just don't understand what this is. And what is worse is, okay, so you have toilets that haven't been cleaned out, or a bus that hasn't been properly cleaned, or you have like wacky people on the bus. But there's some buses where they have obstructed the windows, so you cannot see out the windows. They've got like their decal, they got their Greyhound little sticker that's covering the windows. So you're basically imprisoned for days on where you see there's light coming in. It's like you're in this prison. What is Greyhound trying to do, or whatever company it is, whether it's Peter Pan or Trailways or what's that other one? There's like a couple others for some reason, Jefferson Lines. Like this is inhumane. And I'm thinking that maybe they're not getting enough ridership, so they're forcing riders to be on the bus for 2 days, so they make them pay to go where they don't want to go. I didn't want to go to Colorado. I was trying to get to wherever. And so they make us suffer. And a lot of times, like buses, they're canceled. There's not enough seats or something. That like it'll say there's the bus is full. I've seen this when I was taking the bus in July. It said it's totally full, but there were some seats that were open, and I don't know if it just people didn't show up, but they had booked the seats. So it's really inhumane, like how buses are run. And this, I'm sure the people who run Greyhound, they are totally into the environmental thing. If people were serious, if they were really worried about global warming and climate change and whatnot, buses would be much better. There'd be more Amtrak train stops. Like if you're in the Midwest, there's just nothing. And people would take Amtrak because there's just some people who don't want to drive. There's some people who can't drive. There's people who don't know how to drive. And there's just like when I was in Norfolk, Virginia, there was not, at least at the time, and it was during the lockdown, so there was no public transport to the actual station. Like I couldn't figure it out, and I was new there. Maybe I missed something. So not only does there need to be a train station, but there needs to be public transportation. Like if somebody's taking the bus or train, it could be that they don't have a car. And so there needs to be, some way to get there, if only a taxi. And, I'm not a big fan of everything on a smartphone. I don't have a smartphone, so I don't use those, the Uber and Lyft, but I just think you should be able to have access to basic amenities without a smartphone. Um, so, anyways, it's really unpleasant and kind of traumatizing trying to figure out how to travel. That's why I want to be on the East Coast or the West Coast because travel there is just straightforward. Whereas if you're in the Midwest, you're paying triple, quadruple the amount that you need to because you're being forced to go to 5 different states when you're just trying to get to the neighboring state or the one next to it. So it's overinflated pricing, and you're stuck on the bus when you don't need to be. Like there should just be a bus service. And I have heard that no public transportation makes a profit. I think if that's the case, then there's somebody embezzling because it's a I mean it's a pretty penny. It's not cheap. I mean, of course, it's cheaper than flying, but who knows who's embezzling or overpaying their executives. Uh, I mean, that's just the standard. So it's not that a business isn't profitable. It's that people aren't spending the money properly, and it's unfortunate that writers have to suffer when they're just trying to live their life. And I wonder if it's sort of deliberate, if, even though the globalists and their minions are talking about climate change, if really they just want everybody to have their own car because they make it such a miserable experience taking public transportation. So, and what's that about? Like, why do you really, so you want everybody to buy an electric car or a solar car or whatever? Like, that's not environmentally sound anyway. And that's going to actually just, people are going to be stranded with that car once, something goes wrong with it. Like, so it's just illogical. And if I could talk to somebody at Greyhound or Jefferson or Trailways or Peter Pan, well, Peter Pan actually has been fine because when I was back east, but just for the central, like inland Northwest, central part of America, heartland, that the public transportation needs to be better. And I think what they're also trying to do is prevent undesirable people, probably, whatever you may think that is. I don't want to say specifically, but I'm wondering if that is part of it. It's like they don't want them to have quick access to other states. I mean, I don't know. I don't understand. Why else would you make somebody who's trying to go from Rapid City have to go to Colorado and Wyoming and Montana? Actually, you go to Montana, then back to South Dakota, then to Colorado, and through Wyoming, and then you're gonna go east, to Iowa. Like, and the thing is, if they're trying to prevent undesirable people from traveling, I mean, the thing is, undesirable people they'll still take the bus. If they're trying to go somewhere, if they're trying to do something, they're gonna do it. So making it a 3-day journey or whatever is just making it horrible for the rest of us. So my message to Greyhound is please have direct lines, just have a bus going from one place to another place. Just do that rather than having us to go like I heard somebody else saying that they came from like Texas and they had to go all the way up to, I don't know, somewhere way north and then to Colorado and then back down to, I mean, it's like um it's torture, and it's inhumane to subject people. And the thing is, people aren't taking Greyhound all the time, so they maybe like the first time they're just like so relieved to get home, they don't say anything. But uh especially now where drivers are not showing up, drivers are canceling. So um, bus patrons have to wait 8 hours for that very driver to get their rest or something like that. I mean, I don't even know what's going on, but it seems like the bus infrastructure is breaking down. Uh, so that people are they're being forced to travel like 3,000 miles to go, when they only are trying to go like 300 miles or something like that. Like that's just not, that's horrible. um, and I know you would probably want me to show you, but just look it up. You'll be really surprised. Just look up and try to look at, I mean, you can try something within your state, see if you're trying to go from one city to another city and see if it takes you out of state a few states over. It may not, but if you're trying to go from if you try to go from a middle America, like a Midwest state, to you know a few states over, for some reason it's always taking you 3 states the opposite direction. And then it starts, and that's just like what's going on. Have I mean just have the bus start 3 states away. Don't make us go 3 states over. Don't take us with you. Don't, I mean, like, just if we're here, you just go over there and have a different bus. But I think maybe everything is meant to cause suffering, as much suffering as possible. And people would say, oh, I'm being negative, but like, this is causing suffering. Like, and the thing is, the people who think I'm being negative are sheltered, they're ignorant, and they haven't been subjected to this unreasonable, illogical experience, because they're sheltered and protected. They have whatever it is that gives them leverage in the world. But when you don't have all that, whether it's a family name or family or a partner or husband, prestige or whatever, or even good self-esteem from all those things, or just genetically resilient. When you don't have that, like, when you're vulnerable and weak, that seems to change people. It seems to bring out the worst in people. And so it's, you're like, when you're in this more weakened, demoralized mindset, like, the worst side of people comes out, and so you have a different experience of reality, and it's a valid different experience. And if a subjective observer was there, they would say, wow, I'm surprised that happened. So, and I kind of wonder if it's like some sort of demonic possession, like, that comes over certain people, around certain people. But I digress. So sorry about the noise there. So yeah, take a look at Greyhound, see if you think it's ridiculous how they do that. And thank you for watching. God bless.